Good morning and welcome to the Office 365 Hybrid Configuration and Feature Review presentation. My name is Lloyd Carney. I'm the CEO and Principal Consultant, or one of the Principal Consultants for Parative Limited. I'm going to run you through this presentation. I've got some help from Tim Eitman, who's the co-owner of Parative, and he'll be helping me out. So a little bit about Parative. As I said, I'm the CEO. Our partnership, our partner relationship with Bytes, we've been working with Bytes for probably around the last 2 or 3 years now. Our basic sort of remit as a business is we're kind of focused around the migration space. So anything to do with migration from Exchange, SharePoint, Active Directory. We do an awful lot of Active Directory to Active Directory, Exchange to Exchange, Lotus Notes, GroupWise, that kind of thing. So that's kind of our skill set. Obviously now Microsoft have bought out Office 365, so that's a core business skill for us to have picked up, and we're working quite heavily with Microsoft and Bytes around Office 365. So we're currently engaged with around 4 or 5 customers with about 5,000 seats total. So that's kind of where we are at the moment. So the objectives for this, I didn't want to do sort of death by PowerPoint presentation, but we need to cover off sort of 5 or 6 slides around what the service is, and then we'll do a bit of a demo. And then there's a little bit about licensing and a Q&A at the end. So we'll cover off what the hybrid scenario is, what it means to you, why you might want hybrid. We'll talk a bit about the hybrid feature set, and then we'll do a little bit of a feature demo, and then licensing and Q&A. So as far as questions go, you are muted during the presentation, but you can ask questions via the question panel, so you should have a little panel on the right hand side, and we'll answer those during the Q&A. If we can't answer anything at the end, then it may well be that we get back to you via email, so that's fine. This is a recorded session, so it will be posted on the Bytes website after the event, so you can download it for your own viewing offline. We do have some other offers as well, which we'll talk about towards the end of the presentation. So what's the Office 365 Hybrid? It's basically a supported Microsoft migration and coexistence configuration, and really what it's doing is it's giving you the ability to transition part of your organization to the cloud without any loss of enterprise feature requirements. So you've got to think about it when you're going through a migration to the cloud. Essentially you're dealing with 2 different email systems, 2 different organizations effectively. And so there are various different ways that you can do a migration. You can either take everybody in your organization as quickly as possible, let's say over a weekend, synchronize them all into the cloud and then cut them over, in which case, everyone's on premise one moment and then they're in the cloud the next. That's one way of doing it. But obviously, that's good if you've got a small amount of users. It's not so good if you've got a large amount of users. So why might you use on-premise then? Well, some accounts may remain on-premise, some in the cloud, and that may be because you've got a long-term migration requirement, so you're a larger customer, over 150 users. Although having said that, we have got customers with less than 100 users that are still wanting to do the hybrid approach. And a lot of that reason, again, is that they might have larger mailboxes. It's going to take a little bit more time to get them over. They might have a requirement to maintain some people on premise, so whether that they've got compliance issues, they're in financial services. Some public sector organisations we're working with at the moment have a requirement to keep some mailboxes, councillor mailboxes and things like that on premise, but some people can go in the cloud. So there's this kind of mixed requirement. Also, if you've got a requirement to share calendar and FreeBusy between your cloud service and your on-premise service, then the only way to do that during the transition is to go with the hybrid model. Other reasons you might stay hybrid, you're risk adverse, so you're not really ready to put everybody into the cloud. This is quite a common one actually. You're not ready to put everybody into the cloud, but you want to dabble. So it may well be that you want to move, let's say 50 users in for a month, and then increase it over a period of time until maybe everyone's in the cloud, or 90% of your staff are in the cloud. So it could be that you're risk adverse at the moment and you just want to dabble. The other thing that we're seeing quite a lot of here is the acquisition. So if you're an acquisitional company and you're buying out, or you are looking to buy out other companies, at the moment the hybrid model with Microsoft only supports a connection to a single forest. And so if you're about to buy out another company and you want to tack those in, you won't just be able to grab that company and link them up to Office 365 and migrate them in. That's going to be difficult to do because it's already tied to your organization. And so having the hybrid and coexistence boxes on premise means that we can actually use other tools from companies like Quest to migrate the company that you've just purchased into your company and then move them from your company into the cloud. So effectively there would be a two hop jump. Now multi-forest migrations are going to be supported at some point. They are slated to be available this year. I can't give you too much technical information, but it's suffice to say it will be using sort of, identity management tools, and and even with the identity management tools, it's not as straightforward as just plugging them in and getting them into the cloud. So it's just something to be aware of. So what do we need to configure to get you to hybrid? We need to add an Exchange 2010 SP2 box into your current system, whether you've got Exchange 2003 or Exchange 2007, and that would need to be a single box running the client access server, the hub transport, and the mailbox server. Now, depending on how big you are and how long the coexistence project's going to go, and whether you're going to leave people on site or not, it may well be that you need more than one Exchange server. But typically, if you were just going for the bare minimum, then we only need to put one in place. You can always add more later as an additional project. Configure Active Directory Federation Services version 2. Obviously, if you were to just put everybody into the cloud, you could have an ID and a username and password delivered to you from Microsoft, and you can use that to log into the cloud service and access your mailbox in the cloud. That's not too much of an issue. Obviously, for most companies, you have your own Active Directory, and so users will already be logging in to your current domain structure. What ADFS does for you is it allows you to continue logging into your domain structure. You log in once in the morning on your corporate network, and then you access your cloud service, and the cloud service effectively redirects the logon request as a trusted request back into your on-premise Active Directory. So essentially you only log in with one single account. The other thing we need to do is configure a directory synchronization server, and effectively what that's actually doing is it's reading your corporate email structure, and literally anything with an email address inside your Active Directory and your Exchange organization will be synchronized into the cloud. And so what we're looking at there is that when you migrate your first user into the cloud and they open Outlook and try and construct a new email message, that when they click on the global address list, they are effectively seeing exactly the same global address list as what you're seeing on premise. So that's the reason that we need the directory sync tools. So what do we get and what don't you get with the two options? So you've got the staged and hybrid. So staged was pretty much what I was saying just a while ago. It's really a case of you just flicking over the mailboxes from on-prem straight into the cloud as quickly as you possibly can. And you can see there that whilst that may work for a small company, it doesn't really work very well. It doesn't really scale very well for a larger company. So for larger companies, you might want to share, and probably actually this is the biggest reason that most companies want it, is that they need to be able to share FreeBusy, so availability information, and calendaring across premises. So you might want to share a calendar with someone that's been migrated with a person that's not been migrated. Mail tips, message tracking, and mailbox search. With mail tips, you can it actually looks exactly the same in 2010 on-prem as it does in the cloud. So if the user's out of Office and they're a cloud-based user, it will say a user in your organization is out of Office. So it will pop up in Outlook exactly the same as it does when you're operating with Exchange 2010 on-premise. You wouldn't normally get that across two different businesses. The actual message you would normally get in a shared, if you were going through a normal migration to a different company, which is effectively what you are, typically you would actually get a message saying that the user is outside of your organization. So it's actually making it look as though it's one organization. Mailbox search allows you, if you've got a compliance officer or you need to search across mailboxes, you're able to select, let's say, 10 mailboxes on-premise and 10 mailboxes in the cloud, and you're able to give permission to a compliance officer to search across those 10 mailboxes, and it will do that across the two environments and return the results. Outlook Web Access redirection, so this allows you to continue using your current Outlook Web Access URL. Users would just type it in as normally, and if they've been migrated to the cloud, they will get a redirection message with a new link which tells them that you need to click on this link to access your new Outlook Web Access URL. That pop-up message we can now suppress, so actually we can actually automate it so they never see it, it just redirects them straight away. Exchange Online Archive, this really gives you the ability to have your mailbox on-premise and your archive in the cloud, or vice versa. So you can split the two apart. You don't have to have them together. And indeed, some companies are just buying Office 365 just for the archive, and so they're activating the archive with a hybrid scenario, and then allowing users to use the archive mailbox in the cloud. Exchange Management Console you can use to manage cross-premises and do all your mailbox migrations. So your users, your technical users will already be used to using the Exchange 2007 console, maybe, unless you're 2003, in which case it would be a bit of a change. But really what it's allowing you to do is you can now snap in the Office 365 organization into your current Exchange Management Console, and it effectively looks exactly the same. So your IT administrators don't really need to learn too much more in order to manage the service, although there are some things that you do need to log into the portal for, and there are some things that you need to learn PowerShell for as well. But to be fair, there's no real difference there. If you was moving to Exchange 2010 anyway, you would need to learn PowerShell, because a lot of the new tools and operating system features that are coming out with Microsoft are purely based on PowerShell, and there are some things that you just won't be able to do in the GUI anymore. So you know, if you don't have people on premise learning PowerShell, then really they should be looking at it anyway. Native mailbox move. So this is quite an important one, and something that you don't get with some of the other cloud vendors is the onboarding, offboarding solution. For some businesses, especially if you're risk adverse, you know, actually being able to move mailboxes out of the cloud back onto on-premise is just as important as putting people in the cloud in the first place. And you get that experience. You can just right-click the mailbox in the cloud using your Exchange Management Console and select Move Mailbox and move them back on-prem if that's what you'd like to do. No Outlook reconfiguration or OST. This is, again, quite an important one if you've got secretaries that have built up rules and things in their Outlook profile over you know, over years. You know, message comes in from boss and gets moved into different folders and that kind of thing. Shortcuts within Outlook, any of these kind of settings, including your offline cache, so the copy of your mailbox. When you do the move mailbox into the cloud in a hybrid configuration, you don't need to create a new Outlook profile. So the user doesn't need to do anything. They can actually even be online in the mailbox when we do the move. Effectively, it moves the mailbox into the cloud. They maintain their OST. They maintain all their features. If you was to go with the staged or cutover approach, then literally you delete the Outlook profile and you create a brand new Outlook profile. So the users would have to go and recreate all of their rules and shortcuts and that kind of thing. Secured mail, anything that is sent between the on-prem and cloud system is encrypted with TLS through the use of certificates, public certificates. I mean, you can actually turn that off, but you know, I can't imagine anyone wanting to, but you can if you want to. And centralized email flow, ensure that email routes inbound, outbound via on-premises. That's an option. There are ways that you can change the FOPI, which is the Forefront Online Protection, to take all the email messages and then forward to on-prem, but there are license implications for that. But generally speaking, for the period of coexistence, typically email would continue to flow into your on-premises organization, and if the user's been moved to the cloud, then your on-premise coexistence box will forward that message back out via the secure connection back out to FOPI, which will then deliver it to the cloud mailbox. So just going through the features, we'll cover off single sign-in experience that you get with hybrid, but just a quick view. These are the kind of things that you get. Calendar and FreeBusy, you get a consistent look and feel. You'll see there that it's not a brilliant name, Sally Coexistence, but Coexistence would be the surname. But essentially, if it was a normal external business and you had Federation set up, then you'd see that as an email address. Obviously, between your cloud and your on-premise system, the display name shows exactly the same. So the display name on-prem and cloud is the same. And obviously you get your FreeBusy and calendaring. This is another one, obviously, that says the following recipient was outside of your organization. And I'm missing a transition there, but typically that should actually be saying that the following recipient is inside your organization if the transition worked, sorry. Delivery reports, you can get delivery reports between your on-prem system and cloud, so delivery reports and message tracking. So your administrators, it used to be able to only track a message to the perimeter, and then if you had other problems, you would have to log a support call with Microsoft, and that's what you would still get if you was in the cutover situation. In the hybrid feature set, your on-premise administrators can track the message from your organization through your edge to the Microsoft edge and to the target mailbox. Cross-premises mailbox search, again, allows us to select multiple mailboxes both on-prem and in the cloud, and you can search across both of those, all of those mailboxes. There's your Outlook redirect. As I said, and if the users actually type their normal OA address, they'll come in, they'll get this pop-up. That pop-up they can click on and put into their favorites, but there is an option now to actually set a registry entry so that you can suppress that pop-up and it will just automatically redirect them to that address. Again, cross-premises mail flow and how things look in the GAL. Again, you'll see the display name there is actually resolved correctly to the user. So when you open the Outlook card, you actually see the user in Outlook as though they were inside your organization and not an external recipient with email addresses inside the display name. Again, there you go, that's the contact card. So everything should look exactly the same. You shouldn't really be able to see any difference between internal and external users. So feature set summary makes your on-premise organization and cloud work together in a seamless organization. Near parity of features. I mean, it's not perfect. There are a couple of little bits and pieces which we'll look at there. Features not supported, but typically, you know, you get most of what you need. Seamless interactions between on-premise and cloud, as we've said, and the migrations in and out of cloud, which is again something you don't get with other cloud providers. It's very difficult to actually offboard, and you know, if you're going to put people in the cloud, you also want to know that you can pull them out at a later point in time as things change in your business. Features not supported. There are a few features not supported that you should be aware of with the hybrid model. Coexistence and delegate permissions. So if you have someone that you've delegated permissions to, the best thing to do is migrate them both to the cloud together or keep them on premises together. Try not to split them up, because if you do, delegate permissions don't work currently in the current version between users in cloud and on-prem. Migration of send as and full access permissions, again, that's lost. So if you've given someone send as permission to someone's mailbox and you move them into the cloud, you will need to reapply those permissions. And multi-forest, as I said earlier, only single source forest environments are supported at the moment. So that's coming supposedly this year, but at the moment it's single forest. But they will be supporting it through an enhanced sort of feature set using forefront identity management at some point later on in the year. Whether that's going to make things any easier or not, we're not sure at the moment. It may be that it's still easier to actually run a migration into your current organization and then move them into the cloud as a two-hop scenario, which is effectively how we're doing it at the moment. Public folders are not supported, if you've got public folders in your environment, you need to be looking at either moving the data out into shared mailboxes or moving the data into SharePoint, where ideally Microsoft would prefer you to have that kind of data. Okay, so we can run through some feature sets now. So I'm just going to show you a couple of bits and pieces. Okay, just to show you the single sign-on experience, I'm just going to sign in with a different user there, and I'll just sign in with myself. Okay, so what you'll see there is I've just popped my email address in. We're actually a federated organisation ourselves, and so rather than having to put the password in for the cloud-based service, you can see there I tab into the password box, and it actually tells me at the bottom here that I need to sign in imperative. So if I click in to sign in imperative, the first thing I get is I'm actually being redirected back into my on-prem Active Directory environment, and I'm actually sat at Bytes at the moment, so I'm outside my network. I'm not logged into my VPN. I'm just connected to a normal internet connection. So that's what you'll see. And the first thing this will do is it checks my credentials on premise, passes the tokens back and forward. It's quite a unique way that it does it, and then it allows me access to the system. So that's a typical example of single sign-in. I can access my Outlook from here. So this is the web-based version, which I'm going to show you in a moment. If we go to user management and domains, you can see the domains that we've verified in the service here. And users, these are users that have been synchronized from my on-premise system using my directory sync tool to the cloud. So essentially, when I log into Outlook and I click on a new message, I get exactly the same users displayed to me in the global address list. And you can do various bits and pieces in here, reset the password, you can edit accounts. So I can click on an account, and under settings you can assign different roles. So there are various things in here like billing administrator, global administrator. They've made a lot of this role-based now, so you can give people administrative access to your company admin portal without actually needing to give them full global administrator. So if you just need to do password resets and things like that, you can do this. There is actually a new password reset portal option, which I think is available now, but I might have to check. But they are putting in the Forefront Identity Password Reset Manager side of things into the portal. I noticed that come in the other day. So, I mean, you will actually find that the service changes quite a bit. There's always new features coming out. The best thing to do is stay ahead of the game. Join the support areas, get on the blogs and see what's going on in here, because they are always bringing out new things and changing things as well. Security groups and things are in there as well, all synced up from your domain. Okay, so I'm just going to log out and log in as a different user. So this is an example of the Microsoft-based ID. So this is so you also obviously get an ID where you can log directly into the cloud. And you'll see there, as I tab in, this is a Microsoft-based ID. You can still add mailboxes directly into their cloud service as well. So and if I go into Outlook, this is the Outlook web access. So very, very similar sort of look and feel to Outlook. Obviously, we have things like conversation views. You'll see there that I can sort of turn that view on and off there. So I can actually see all of the email messages, or I can combine them together. So if I just respond to Tim and say test email, you get all the shortcuts and stuff as well. So I was just able to send that email message by doing it Alt and S, which is the way I would normally do it inside of Outlook. And the other thing that you get as well is you get the right-click experience. So if I right-click on the email, I get all of the same experiences that I get inside of that Outlook. I can actually initiate a chat directly with Tim as well. So I'm now logged in as Karen Berg. My communicator, my link client's actually logged in with myself. But if I actually click on chat, it can flash me up a web-based version of this. So I can actually chat with Tim directly via the web-based version if I'm not signed into my client. So if you're out in a hotel or you're using a kiosk and you don't have the link client installed, you can still kick off meetings and stuff directly from inside of here. You'll see there that I get the availability side of things, so this is all built into the link client. And again, actually, if I right-click on there, I can initiate chat from there as well. Okay, so under options, you have things like themes, where you can change the theme of the user. I'm not sure whether that's the right one, but there we go. And then inside options, there we go. So your user options in here, it's quite extensive. You can connect other mailboxes. You can organize your email. So this is where you'd set your automatic replies, which you can set inside and outside of your organization. You can set up delivery reports, retention policies, inbox rules. So if you wanted to set up the rules, so anything arriving from my boss I want to put in this particular folder, then you can set these up. So you can set your rules up exactly the same as you would with Outlook. Inside groups and other bits and pieces there, so groups, you can go in here and create your own public groups. Public groups I own, public groups I belong to, and you can add people to those groups as well. So if you want to set up your own distribution lists, you can. And then there's all sorts of other bits and pieces in there as well. Okay, so I just wanted to just cover off one or two things with link as well. So the link client there, you can set your availability. So obviously it depends on what package you've bought, whether you get link thrown in or along with SharePoint and some of the other stuff as well. So we can talk about licensing later. So you can set these up here. Options, if you go to Tools, Options, you can set up things like your pictures, corporate, phone, alerts, all that kind of thing. Let me just kick off you can see that Tim's available here. I can send him an instant message directly from inside of Link. And what we'll do is we'll set up a quick meeting if we've got time. It's just so I'm going to get Tim to send me a quick presentation. And there you go. So that's he basically, in order to send that, basically all he did was just drag and drop straight into the bottom there. That's the one I want. Oh, sorry, I just cut you off there, Tim. Can you just send that again? No. Oh, there we go. And typically it's not letting me save it out. Okay, I think it's Tim's internet connection. Okay, well look, I've got the presentation here. Typically, I should have a small one in here. But, okay, that's fine. I could do it myself. But sorry about that. But if we wanted to set up a meeting, I can go into Outlook. I just want to set this up from here just so I can show you. If I click on New Meeting, you now have the option inside of Outlook to start an online meeting. So if I click on there, you'll see that it actually pops me all of the meeting participant information in. So I can then send this out. meeting, and what we'll do is I'll just make that for 12 o'clock and click on send. And what I'm able to do if I want to is I can go in advance. I can join the meeting myself. And the web-based meeting, this will kick up the web-based meeting as well. Obviously, you can specify a particular telephone number, or you can use link integrated audio, which is fine. But I can kick off the meeting myself here, and then I can do share PowerPoint presentation, and I can select my PowerPoint deck, and basically what that's going to do is it's going to upload the presentation and get that set up for me. It won't take too long. There we go. You can see it popping in there. I can go in then and organize my slides and do other bits and pieces actually inside of here. It's taking a little bit of time to upload because obviously I'm doing a webcast as well, so it's a bit slow. But once I've got all that information in, I can literally close that session down, and that will save that presentation information for me now. So if I want to, I can now drop out of there. Eventually, when my meeting comes up, I can double-click, open the meeting response, join the meeting back up again, use link call, show stage, hide stage. And for some reason it's not popped back up. Okay, well that's typical. Okay, I'm just going to cut out of that. But typically, if I'd saved that properly, which I obviously haven't, then you can actually save the presentation into the back end, and the presentation will be available to you. So it's a bit slow because of the webcast that we're doing, but that's why. Okay. I don't think there's much more time for much more here. So I think from here we'll just sort of talk a little bit about licensing. Obviously, licensing is dependent on your business requirements, which product sets you're interested in, and obviously there's a user role situation there, whether it's a kiosk worker or an information worker. If you just need access to Outlook web access and you don't need a 25 gig mailbox, for instance. So shop floor workers, that kind of thing, then maybe kiosk workers, fine. Other than that, then you're kind of going up the ladder to full information workers, where you might need SharePoint access, link, as we just showed there, and a 25 gig mailbox and an archive and everything else. So we won't cover too much more about licensing, other than to say that there are different plans available, and the best thing for you guys to do is to contact Bytes to have a bit more of a discussion around this. Actually, just before I move on to Q&A, we have a kind of a sort of deal sort of set up where we're quite happy to come in and do a similar kind of presentation to what I've given here, one that will work, and we'll get the other bits and pieces working. But we're quite happy to come in and do sort of like a 2-3 hour presentation. We can do it via WebEx. Obviously we can only cover so much in a 30-minute session, and it's very difficult to sort of cover features in great detail. There's quite a lot that we can show you around SharePoint and the integration with Office web apps with SharePoint and that kind of thing as well. So we have a 3-hour presentation that we can run, which we can come and do on premise, which we'll do free of charge. So by all means, if you drop us a call, we can help you out on that. Okay, so Q&A. Okay, there's a question from Mario Resende. Is the rich functionality of Web Outlook the right-click available across different browsers or IE only? Yes, it is. There is support for Microsoft. Have actually done a very good job now of supporting other browsers. So there's support for Firefox and Safari. I don't have the actual version numbers available directly to me, but I know that there is support, and you can pretty much use any of those browsers now. So so yeah, and if you need to know specific version numbers, then by all means drop us an email and we can give you that. So a message from John Herbert. Can users in OA add attachments both from their online documents within Office 365 and their documents on premise? Yeah, it's just a standard standard attachment box. You just click on it, both on premise or in cloud, and yeah, you can access your SharePoint site directly, or your local drive, or anything else as you normally would. Message from Julie Judson. Is Office 365 directly hosted on Microsoft servers? Yes, it is. It's a good question. Obviously, we don't normally cover that in the hybrid scenario, but yeah, Microsoft have got data centers in Dublin and Amsterdam for the European side of things. And when you select your mailboxes, you can choose to have your mail stored in the UK side of things. So effectively, what you do is you specify where your users are, and by specifying that, it will deploy your mailboxes directly to the Dublin servers, and obviously everything's replicated to Amsterdam. And another one from Julie. Is your hybrid version also hosted on Microsoft servers? Yes, it is. Yes. Yeah. Oh, I beg your pardon. Hang on a minute. So the hybrid servers that we put in, i.e., the three servers, the ADFS box, the directory sync box, and the coexistence box, the Exchange box, those would be on premise. So we've just done an implementation where we've installed the directory sync on the same box as the coexistence box. We currently are keeping the ADFS box separately because there are some support issues around that at the moment. But typically, if you've got a virtual environment, then you could put them in on virtual machines. That's fine. Another one from Mario. Is the additional Exchange 2010 SP2 instant essential to the hybrid model, or can something else be done with the existing 2007 Exchange box, i.e. an additional role? Unfortunately not. The new coexistence, the requirements for coexistence, i.e. the mail tips and a lot of the features around coexistence, including the Move mailbox, unfortunately need to be need to be run from an Exchange 2010 box. So the requirement is a schema update, an Exchange 2010 SP2 schema update to your current Active Directory structure, and yes, unfortunately, that would be a lot easier, but unfortunately that's not the case. Just another quick one on the coexistence server. The license for that server is free, so it's a good point from Tim. Just brought it up to me. Essentially, once you've signed up to the service, you log a support call. And Microsoft will send you via email a license key that you can install on that Exchange 2010 box, so you don't have to pay the license for that box. We'll just hang on there for another couple of questions. And we'll give you another minute, and if there's no more questions, then we'll close the presentation down there. By all means, do drop us a call to book a more detailed presentation. Okay, message from Julie. Sorry, I didn't quite catch which license was free there. So it's the Exchange the Exchange 2010 SP2 coexistence box. So we have to put a hybrid Exchange 2010 box into your organization. and the license for that is free of charge. You don't have to pay for that. So from John Gradis, can you have 3 different regional accounts, EMEA, APAC, EMEA, linked to the same AD, and those service users from the same email domain name? Sorry, just read that again. Yes, you can. If it's one forest, then it's irrelevant. So that's fine. It doesn't matter where they are. It's just the fact that it has to be a single forest. What you couldn't have is multiple forests. So a forest in EMEA and a forest in APAC. You couldn't link all of those together. They have to be in the same forest. Message from John. How does Office 365 integrate with BlackBerry? So the service for Bez is now hosted by BlackBerry itself. There is actually a website. I don't actually have the URL, but we can get that for you if you drop us an email. But essentially, if you've got a Bez enterprise license, then there is no extra charge. You effectively log into their site, you put all the details in, and you can link your Bez straight up to the service without any issues. I mean, 365 has always supported BlackBerry Internet Service, so you can use that anyway. Message from Steve. You showed our client in the demo. Can you use the full Outlook Office app? Can the full Outlook Office app be used? Are plugins within the Outlook an issue with Office 365? I can't answer for specific plugins because we've all been in a situation with Outlook where we've put a plugin into Outlook and it's caused a problem. So I can't answer for individual ones. The general answer there is that yes, you can use you use Outlook in exactly the same way. So there is no there's no difference. You can obviously, if you've purchased the plan that gives you the Outlook download, the Office download, so you can get the Office Professional Plus. It's a good thing to actually bring up here. The Office Professional Plus download that you get, you can install on up to 5 PCs. So it's actually a really good deal. And actually, the cost of the Office purchase, if you was to buy Office off the shelf, almost covers the cost of your user per year. So Microsoft have done a really good job of actually giving you that. You can download a fully functioning copy of Office onto up to 5 PCs with one single login. So you activate one user and they can install up to 5 copies quite legally on any machine that they'd like. Yeah, sorry, something came through there. So Julie Judson, NHS has a closed network. Do you have any NHS organisations which have taken this up? Yeah, okay. I'm just talking to Tim. That's coming with the G-Cloud setup. So we can't give you any direct information at the moment, but there is a new procurement purchase route directly for public sector, which Parative are actually part of the. We are actually part of that structure. So if you need to, you can contact us directly afterwards. We can speak to you, or you can speak directly to the Microsoft public sector team and mention that you've spoken to Lloyd at Parative as well, and they can get in contact with us and we can talk to you about that. But yes, there is a procurement route for you guys, but it's only just kind of coming together now. Message from Steve. If you drag items from Office 365 mailbox to, say, a DMS system with Outlook cache mode, will it copy the local attachments or the Office 365 hosted attachments? Well, if you're in Outlook, if you're in the FAT client, yeah, if you're in the FAT client, I assume that if you're dragging an attachment into a connection on your local PC, then it would copy it into there, but I can't answer that directly. Maybe you could drop us an email with more detail about the DMS system. We'd need to know whether the DMS system is integrated with Outlook. I mean, if it is, and you've got a folder available within Outlook, then you would just drag and drop the email straight into it. I don't see any reason why not, but without more information, I think I can't really answer that, so maybe drop us an email. So where are we? Another one from Mario. In the hybrid setup, am I correct to assume that changes are required to the MX records as mail flow is maintained to existing infrastructure until full switchover is performed? Yeah, that's correct. MX records will stay pointing to your on-premise system until either everyone is in the cloud and you're ready to switch over, or unless you go the other route where you switch over all of your email to flow through Forefront Online Protection, and then they forward to your on-prem. But there are license implications to that, because you do need a license for every single user that Forefront is passing the email through for. So if you had 1,000 on-prem and 1,000 in the cloud, and you wanted to use FOPI as the target MX, then you would still have to pay a FOPI license for the email that's being transferred to the 1,000 on-prem users. So there are licensing implications there. If you talk to Bytes, they can help you out. Generally speaking, though, in a coexistence situation, all of your email will come into on-prem, into your current system, and then go back out via the TLS connection. So another one from Julie. Can you send me details after this webinar, and can I get in front of a decision maker? Yes. In fact, if I just pop my slide across, sorry, I meant to do that earlier. So for more information on this, if you contact you, so the primary point of contact inside of Bytes is Karen Jongans, and there's Karen's details there. From a technical perspective, I should have probably put Tim's on there as well, really, but you can contact myself. And it might be that myself and Tim jump on a call with you again to go through things in a more technical detail with you. We really need to come in and do a proper discovery and a whiteboard session. And if you want to talk to us before that, as I said, we're quite happy to do a 2-hour WebEx and run you through the features. It would have been quite nice today to show you some of the SharePoint features and some of the more advanced features there, but unfortunately we just didn't have the time, so by all means drop us a call. Any more questions? That looks about it. So thanks so much for everybody joining the call. I'm sorry there was a few little glitches there because of bandwidth issues our end, but I think we got there. So thank you very much, and we look forward to speaking to you soon. Many thanks. Bye-bye.